Welcome to Kid Funk Presents the Ballantines True Music Series, an annual project that gives uncompromising artists a platform to share and experience their music. I'm your host, Kid Funk, bringing you exclusive access to the successes, struggles, and creative processes of industry artists breaking new ground. And this evening, we have none other than atJazz and Julian Gomes, who just finished their second album together. We're going to be discussing literally the beginning of their career all the way up into this new album, and followed after the interview, we will have a live recording of atJazz and Julian Gomes back to back in the mix here in Pretoria. Gents, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh man, I'm always good when I come here. It's
You
good to be
basically
back.
live in this country, right?
Well, I've not been back for a year.
Wow.
To the weekend. It was a year ago. To this weekend, I've not been back. But I don't ever feel like I've been away, if you know what I mean. I've
The
got
sun
so many
keeps bringing you back.
friends and family.
Yeah.
It's like my other home. I honestly believe that. You know, I don't dip in and out all the time. I just come when it's important, and everyone's around, and it's great, man.
I wanna start with this. Firstly, this affair that you have with South Africa,
Yeah.
and this connection that Julian Gomes and atJazz have.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've been a fly on the wall for most of this journey. I've been relatively close at the beginning, which I think was round about Love Song 28 time.
Yeah.
So I'd met Julian Gomes with his cousin Mike G, SG Family.
Hero, yeah.
The hero, SG Family, when I worked at Soul Candy Records. And they were making proper deep house music.
Yeah.
And I was dealing with you
Yeah.
as atJazz, licensing music, and you were consistently remixing or involved in South African music, C9, the likes. And then I remember Julian one day told me that he had won a remix competition, right? That's how the story goes.
Yeah.
With Arco, atJazz record company. Julian, tell me the whole story. So I need the beginning of this relationship.
The exact moment it happened.
Exactly.
So basically, I think I have always been a huge fan of atJazz and like the trio, which is Usonlade, Charisma, and atJazz. So I really wanted to get G Family on atJazz record company, and it was really hard because every time we'd send a link back then, like I think Martin at that time was receiving so many links a day that he probably couldn't check them all out. So actually Michael was suggested, he was like, yo, why don't we remix Love Someone by atJazz and Robert Owens. I was like, okay, cool. I don't really like remix competitions, but let's do it. And we did it, and I sent it to Martin on SoundCloud. And literally, like, I think it was like not even 10 minutes later, like, you sent me a SoundCloud link back, and you were like, yeah, this is one of the three, like, this is it. And from there, it just
But this
grew,
was
yeah.
an official remix competition, right?
This was an official
so
remix competition.
So it wasn't just like you guys saying like, let's do a remix. It was like, okay, there's this
Yeah.
open competition, and you know, we could land up being released on Arco.
Exactly. From a G Family perspective, I was very hesitant. I was very like, bro, but do we really need to do this? Like, it's like weird us entering a remix. I suppose that's my ego, or like Mike didn't see it that way. But I'm like, bro, but we got an album out. We've worked with countless labels. Like, why are we doing a remix
Deep House Chronicles?
This was after Deep House
No
Chronicles.
ways.
And this was after releasing on a lot of different international labels, local labels, remixes, summer nominations. I was like, why are we doing a remix comp? And yeah, it just happened that way. I'm grateful that Michael
pushed you in the right direction.
He pushed us in the right direction because it birthed this relationship, I suppose. You know, like this whole synergy between, you know, atJazz and.
So you came in third, right? Was there a ranking?
There wasn't a ranking. No.
So to give you just an idea of what it was, I've got to cast my mind back now.
It is a long time ago.
I think it was at the end of 2010 or something like that, wasn't it? I'd had a couple of messages from Ralph Gomes to say, oh, your music's really rocking in South Africa. Ralph had moved at that point. African. He was living here with his family. So I wanted to do something to kind of celebrate South African talent in a way, and give it a launch pad. Because I'm like my older sister, I tend to want to help people, and that's kind of the way I'm born and first in life, if you know what I mean. I was very aware of G Family, although Julian didn't know, because Christo introduced me to Mike and Julian's music about a year prior to actually meeting Julian. So I'll be straight honest with you, because I'm Mr. Honest. When I saw the G Family mix come in, I just put it to one side and went, well, they've won.
Oh wow!
They're going to be one of the winners, because it's not devaluing anyone else's work, but when someone
the credibility of everyone else.
It's not even a credibility thing, but I know the quality of what the guys were putting out, and I'm looking for quality. Always. Because the guys that have got the best quality should be the guys that are given the wings to fly a bit further. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I just thought it's going to be good, and when I listened to it, I just a few goosebumps there as I was remembering it. It's so chunky.
Yeah.
It's so, and you understand yourself how good that remix was. It is fat and chunky. It's almost like hip hop the way that they produced it. It's so dirty, in fact, but it's artistic and it's characterized and it's stylistic, and it was just really, really good. So I was like, of course I'm a G Family fan. Now I've got a G Family recording on my label. Great. And then I came to South Africa a couple of months after and was playing House 22.
That was for Tulani, right?
Yes, Tulani.
So that was your first.
Tulani the Warrior, yeah.
Was this your first atJazz gig?
He brought me for 8 gigs.
But this was the first time you'd ever set foot in.
D Gomes picked me up.
Yeah.
From Randburg, from where I was staying.
I remember this time very well.
He's a hero. He's one of my favourite people in the world. That guy is. He's so funny.
Shout out to the Gomes.
No, I'm joking. He's brilliant. I love him so much.
Yeah.
He picked me up, took me to House 22, and he was like, "You got to be prepared for this." And I was like, "What? I've done gigs all over the world. What are you talking about?" And there were people on the car when we arrived at House 22. So he had to kind of bundle me through the crowd. Wow. And I eventually got through the crowd, and I was stood with my zip up and my hat on. I was like, this is a bit strange. And I just felt this on my shoulder, and I looked round, and it was like, yo, it's Julian. I was like, oh, no way, it's Julian Gomes. Oh my God. It was really funny with the way I met him.
It's amazing.
He just turned up, but I think that's what you got to put the effort in.
100%.
I always had to put the effort in when I was, going to see Charles Webster DJ in Nottingham. If I didn't bother him and get on his nerves a bit, I don't think he would have ever noticed.
100%.
So I've got to.
It's amazing how this whole story has literally gone full circle, because we're talking about the first time you guys met in Pretoria, and here we are. How many years later?
Yeah, 2011.
7 years.
7 years. But
7
it's
years
been
ago.
8 years since I've known.
So we're almost having a reunion right now.
And you know what? Another thing to add to that. Sorry to jump in. That I've just realised that in that 8 years, we've written 2 albums together.
This is what I want to talk about. I mean, there's
I
not
don't
only
get to
2
write
albums.
1 album in 8 years on my own.
I think there's a lot of what Michael G did with Julian happening here, where you guys are pushing each other to do things a little bit quicker or get things sped up. But I want to talk about the next step, which is you guys in studio. So you come to South Africa, Tulani brings you to House 22 and a number of gigs. atJazz literally becomes a household name in South Africa. You already have a relationship with Julian. Julian does some work with Red Bull, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And you get shipped to Spain.
Barcelona.
Yeah,
Sona Fest.
So you went to go play at Sona Fest.
Yeah.
And Martin reaches out, and the first time you guys sit in studio together happens.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience.
First time atJazz and myself sit in studios in Bankmill. What's it? Bankmill, yeah. Which studio? It was literally
how many years ago was this? So just to put this into
2011.
perspective.
2011.
So this was the same year that you met in Pretoria. You were in the UK.
The year after.
The year after,
because we met in 2010. I flew to Sona Fest in 2011.
And Martin flew you to the UK?
I told Martin I was playing Sona Fest. He was like, why don't you come to my studio? Check out the vibe. Let's just make music if we can make music. But it was more of just like visiting, And just got into the plane and flew to. I was actually in Rome first, and I flew from Rome, because I went to go visit another friend of mine, and I flew from Rome to East Midlands Airport. And Martin was out there, and as I got out the gates, he's there with the camera, like taking my first picture, like my first landing in Derby or Derbyshire or whatever, East Midlands. So yeah, it was a really great experience. You know, just that's where we sat. Like, talking about this is like kind of really, I don't know what the word is, but it's like really humbling, because it's just like,
Dude, you guys have been on a journey, and I'm just so happy that we can.
Journey, yeah.
I mean, not many people know this journey. Like I said, I've been a fly on the wall. Let's tell the story. So, Overshadowed
was the first song
that you guys knocked out of the studio.
Yeah, I remember I was still in Barcelona working on the drums, trying to get it ready to work on in studio with Martin, working on the drums. Then we got there and we just sat, and like that's when the atJazz and JG collaborative kind of journey started. Yeah.
atJazz, was that your plan to get Julian over and make music with him?
I didn't know what the plan was. When I met Julian, I felt his spirit was very, very honest, really into his music. I knew from him telling me a couple of stories that he was just basically going to make music for a living. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be an artist. And there are only a few people on my label that have actually given up their day jobs to become artists. It's a difficult thing to do, yeah. Oh, it's ridiculously difficult. Yeah. It's like myself and Julian and Sai Chu, or I would say the three that do this for a living, if you know what I mean. And it's not easy because we don't make pop music, you know, we're not making songs. And the beauty, we spoke about it in the car on the way. The beautiful thing about what we do is sometimes we make a song and people really enjoy it so much it gets a decent amount of coverage, and that's all you want. You know, it's art first. You know?
100%.
It's great to make money from it because we've got to pay the bills, but I can't make music to make money. If you know what I mean,
you can't sleep at night.
I can't.
Yeah,
it kills me. I'm an artist. I want to feel comfortable in what I do, and I know that. So I'm incredibly lucky. You are. We are. We need to count our blessings sometimes. But my idea behind bringing Julian to Derby was also because Christo lived on the next street to me.
Right.
So it was like, well, Chris gets to see him.
Yes.
I get to see him. You know, Sai and Jamie are around, all the other guys on the label. Let's do a DJ mix live on Ustream. So we had a bit of fun doing that. That was quite nice. Got the deck set up with my massive giant Tannoy 15-inch speakers at the time. Huge, right? Like a tower of power in my little tiny house at the time. And I didn't expect to sit down and make music with Julian. I thought, I don't know how it's going to work. I had Ocean Light in the studio 2 weeks ago, and for 20 years we've known each other. We still don't really sit down and work. But for some reason we do. We sit down and you get the writing pad out, we make notes, we get ideas, and we enjoy working together. Sure. I think that's a really good thing.
I think something that just came into my mind while you were talking was I was spending a lot of time with Julian at the time because I was the label manager at Soul Candy, and we'd licensed Love Song 28, which was the song that catapulted Julian to huge stardom in South Africa. And I mean, still to this day, as a DJ, I still play that track.
It's amazing. It's timeless.
Timeless, incredible record.
It's an amazing piece of work.
But I remember chatting to Julian about him coming over to see atJazz and make a record. And then suddenly Julian's, he grew in the public eye. Yeah. So he was getting a lot of attention and people were tweeting him and he became a star, rightfully so. I remember Julian clearly saying to me one day, like, obviously you get haters. And someone tweeted Julian and was like, so what you got? What's next? And Julian told me about this and he was like, Overshadowed, bro. And it literally was that. I mean, as that was cooking.
One of the most deepest pieces of house music ever.
100%. You guys come together as a collab. Who would have ever thought that there'd be a South African collabing with the legend atJazz, and you guys hit them with Overshadowed, which is the beginning of all this music. Take us to album number 2. Album number 1, my mistake, sorry.
No,
song, and then we go
like
to the album.
It felt like album number 2 because Overshadowed really it lasted as long as an album, didn't it? You know, we speak about that quite a lot. You know, a song can do as well as an album, and there's a story about Julian's album in Europe about that. You know, the song, 1,000 Memories being as popular as the entire album, for instance. It's crazy how one song can really change things, and that's if we had 3 hours, we could talk about streaming and how that's amazing for situations like that. But it was quite quick. We worked fast, I think. And I had.
This is the Gift the Curse. We're now on Gift the Curse.
Yeah, the Gift the Curse.
So Julian went back to the UK.
Yeah, he came back for, how was it, 2 weeks? 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It was around the time, and I was sharing a studio with Stuart, my designer. He does all of the artwork for the label. Everything that comes out the label is designed by Stu. That might seem a little bit short-sighted, but I find he's an integral part of my work.
Right.
He understands what I'm about and how I like to do things. So he is integral, literally integral, for my label, for the output. So he's one of the creators. He's one of my artists, essentially.
Sure.
So we were sharing a room with Stu, and we wrote a lot of the album on headphones, right? Like,
amazing. What was the intention? Because this was your follow-up. I mean, this was overshadowed, and some people, I've experienced it myself, where you have such a heavy piece of work that comes out, i.e. Love Song 28, i.e. overshadowed, and now you've got to write a record, and already the expectations are high.
I think we were excited to get going again. I think at that point we were like, let's get some more in there. There's a few funny stories because I didn't have the big speakers at the studio, and it was a really cold winter. Literally, it was the first time that Julian had stood in snow. So he was stood outside my house.
First time someone who lives in the middle of Pretoria, where it's almost 35 degrees every day, comes to the UK.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it started snowing, big flakes, and when you get big flakes in Northern Europe, you know you're in for a good snow because they're basically snowballs. So big flakes, they're huge. He walks outside into my garden in his t-shirt and just looks up, and I almost wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, the kid's just seen snow for the first time. You know, this all impacts on the music. It really does. He's having an experience he's never had before.
For sure.
Blooming hot country. Which very rarely sees snow. Although randomly, once you're in England, it snowed here, right? Which is really strange. Maybe we transferred it. But the next day, it snowed so much and it was so cold that the floor was covered in, like, we call it black ice, because it's so, the ground is like dark grey and the ice is glass as such. It just looks black. And you stand on that, you're done, you're over. So I'll make Julian carry a giant tannoy speaker about 3/4 of a mile, and it's quite a far walk to my old studio. And we were slipping all over the place. It took us about 25 minutes to get there. That was enjoyable. But that was part of the process of making the album, because we wanted to take the speakers down, and it's the only way we could do it.
Sure.
So we set the speakers up, and that day we produced, 2-3 of the songs. I think we got the bones to 2 or 3 of the songs. And it was all, of course, Overshadowed was at that point the blueprint to what we were going to be doing.
Right.
I think it's a great blueprint to have. You know, we made it ourselves. It was different to everything else. And it just came together very quickly, and then we decided to get people involved, like Robert Owens,
Boosie,
Ocean Lode, people like that. It's very natural. It's a very organic.
Quickly, just tell me, you guys have a lot of like deeper meanings to what you do. You're artists. The Gift, the Curse. Why that name for your debut?
The Gift, the Curse was just kind of trying to figure out the whole thing, you know, in terms of like music and how just in life there's gifts, but with the gift there's the underlying curse that goes behind it, and figuring out how to get through it. You know, I think that's kind of always been the base point from Martin and myself, just trying to figure out. It's weird because like we're very different people with very different styles, different backgrounds, grew up different, I don't want to say it, but different age and all that, you know, but
I didn't notice at all. I really didn't notice.
But like we are two very different people, but we share the same kind of mindset behind everything. You know what I mean? Obviously, we've had very different experiences in our individual capacity, but yeah, it's just like there's a synergy there, you know, between us, and that's what we want to try and like get across in our music is, you know, like the struggle and trying to get through it, and there's always a brighter side, you know, not to like be cheesy or anything, but there is a brighter side. There is an upside to everything, but don't forget about all the negative stuff as well.
The hard work.
On the design side of the Gift the Curse initially as well, I would say that it's almost like us painting. This isn't like putting MIDI parts down and scrolling through a synthesizer to try and find a sound. There's so much deleted that you never see. You know, you probably get each song is 10% of the work that we put in.
Oh wow! You strip it down.
Yeah, we strip it right down, and it's not like when we'll get onto the big bad crazy thing, which it takes it even further. It's like, you know, if you were to cut your finger and paint in blood, I don't want it to sound too dramatic, you know, but it's like, or you find something on the floor and you think the colour of that stone's amazing, and you scratch that on a wall. It's how we make music. It's not searching for a sound or whatever. It has a natural flow, and it's born from arguments. It's born from me being incredibly bossy. It's from Julian being over the top, overthinking. Delete that. Let's have an argument about it. Let's go back in the next day and start a new song. Go back to that song. It's complex, but I kind of enjoy the ride in a weird way, because I look at him like a little brother. I've never had a little brother, and I've never had somebody that's you're 15 years younger than me, to I don't even like meant the word mentor, to just help through. This
was actually
things,
before we get to the new record, which I really want to get into, but this was something I wanted to touch on from the perspective of the age difference, because Julian was obviously coming into your life, and the way I see it is you will always be the mentor. And I think musically that might have been the structure for a while, but with the new record I think things kind of shifted.
Absolutely.
For my ears, and I've listened to the progress of your work from Overshadowed, Gift, Curse, and now your new record. And here we are, we're at your new record. Literally, let's just take it there. Because I'll give you my perspective of what happened. Julian was coming to the UK to write a new record with Martin. Martin was busy. Martin was being, Martin, atJazz. atJazz was busy. atJazz was being a dad. 2 young boys. I have 1. I know what it's like. 2, I'm sure, is even more difficult. Mm-hmm. And Julian being maybe not adamant, but just really wanting to come back with something.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and just watching this from a distance and seeing it happen and hearing this record, I didn't know what to expect when it came to your new album, Big Bad.
I don't think we did.
Big Bad Crazy. I keep wanting to say Big Bad Beautiful because it's such a beautiful album.
That's great. That's a
I
follow-up.
love that. Yeah, Volume 2.
Featuring Kid Funk.
Big Bad Crazy, 2018. 2 months old.
Yeah. No, a month old.
A month old. I can't believe it. It's been such a big part of my life as a curator, as a radio host, as a DJ. For the past, it feels like 3 months. Probably because I get promos. Lucky me. But the point is, this record musically felt like a real shift. It felt like there were arguments, and it felt like this is a proper, mature record. Hands down, one of my top 5 for the year. And I think what comes out of what you guys have experienced is something amazing. Tell us about, I've told you what I saw. What actually happened with this record? How did this record...
Yeah, what didn't happen? So I can tell you how it started. We tried to write an album 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago, I think. And we came up with Daggers Drawn. It was actually finished, right? The reason Daggers Drawn came up is Julian was over for quite some time. And I'm very pushy, but I want the best out of people. And I want to draw that out of them. I'm like a talent leech, if you know what I mean. But I don't want it for me. I want to see that person do the best that they can do and rise up to my expectations so that we can do it together, you know, and be on the same level and fight the good fight of music. And Julian was actually just had a massive operation, so it was maybe quite bad to be so hard on him at the time. I was making all of his meals. But he would be very well looked after, but I was giving him a lot of pressure at the time, and probably too much, to be fair. And we came up with, we had a to-do in my living room, and then we went back out to the studio and we just got down and made this song. Literally got down, plugged in the Nord modular. I got a microphone not dissimilar to this and started growl. So all the bass and the leads are all my voice through the vocoder. Julian had this idea of these dark beats and stuff, and it came together as this fight to get through, if you know what I mean. And this is where the artistry comes into it. This is not just sitting there going, yeah, let's make some beats, guy, put a big vocal behind it and get Barbara Tucker to sing on it and make a great soul song or something. It's not. It's about the difficulty of making something that actually becomes beautiful in the end. And Julian naturally came up with the name Daggers Drawn, because at one point we were in the living room, we thought we might as well have had fencing masks on with our hands behind our backs and our swords out, going, on guard, because it was a face-off, you know, and because of me pressuring him being quite ill and tired at the time, but me thinking, you've still got it in you, and you can do this, you know. Maybe I didn't say it as nice as that, but it was, he gets it. It came to the point where we went in the studio and made something really natural, and that's when Daggers Drawn was made. We tried to do the next year was to try to send some collaborations backwards and forwards via stems. It doesn't work like that, and Julian said, look, bro, that's it, I'm coming to England. That's it, I'm done. I'm coming to England for 6 weeks. He came over for 6 weeks, and we smashed the album. There was a few tweaks thereafter, right? And about 5 mastering sessions to get the mastering right for the album sound. But in the end, all of the work was needed to get the product. My favourite visual memory of making this album is looking behind me, because I'm naturally in control of the computer in my studio, obviously. And Julian with 3 piles of records around him going like, well, you sound, God, bro, your record collection, it's amazing, or something. It was like, yeah, Julian, you can't sample George Duke. No, Herbie Hancock. No, you can't do that one. We must have gone through hundreds and hundreds of jazz records, soul records, and then manipulated them after to just get rid of the original sound to find a new way of doing something.
Sure.
So it was a serious battle to make this album. And we always wanted to make it 8 songs so that we could do 4 and 2 pieces of vinyl. But yeah, I mean that's.
Are there any more songs left, or was it? Well, are you done at 8, or were there leftovers?
There was a lot of leftovers.
Were there?
Not many, but there was leftovers. But they just didn't make sense for the album.
Okay.
So we didn't put it out there, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of Big Bad Crazy, I think the energy behind it is like Martin was explaining. The Gift of Curse was written at a time where I was very young. There was a lot happening in my life. There was a lot happening in Martin's life, a lot of changes. I think through those changes we led up, getting to the door of Big Bad Crazy and trying to figure out what's next for us, like what are we going to do? And I remember there were a lot of, not arguments, but serious conversations, about what are we doing, man? Like, if we're just gonna sit in the studio and you do the beats and atJazz plays the chords, that's just like weak, like what are we actually gonna do? Like, how are we gonna make this an amazing piece of music? And I think it just kind of went to that whole direction of, like Martin explained, I would sit hours and just go through the most amazing record collection I've ever been close to and listen to like music and like kind of get like where we're going with it and stack a whole pile up like this, for the next day and be like, Martin, come in. And that's where he's explaining, like there's just records all over. And I think that's what we wanted to do with Big Bad Crazy. Is the reason why it also sounds so different to The Gift, The Curse is because I think it's what, 5 years after the Gift the Curse, and I'm also older now.
You are.
And I think the Gift the Curse, when we worked on the Gift the Curse, is like, it was very, I would say it was hard for us to kind of figure out the combination between us, because it was like the Karate Kid looking up to Mr. Miyagi, and like, you know, what Mr. Miyagi says is what Mr. Miyagi says, you know.
Yeah.
I know it's a weird combination. What's the word? But I know it's weird to explain, but that's how it was. And now it was like kind of like fighting to like figure out ideas together and get through it, and trying to like just like push through and like challenging each other. And I think being in studio like that, actually you self-discover things about your own music and about your own direction and your own mind. Like Martin says, like he just goes ahead, like he's in it, but he's been making music like for a very long time,
sure.
You know, and I overthink things, and it's taught me not to overthink, just to go. And I would like to think that maybe sometimes, you know, my thought process like helps Martin, and his thought process helps me. And I think that's where you get the balance of the collaboration. That's the best way to explain
guys,
it. Guys,
I mean, I'll say it and I'll say it again. Incredible record. Really, really beautiful piece of work.
Thank you.
Beautiful piece of art. And just as we finish, we are joined this evening at Kid Funk Presents by Felipe Pantone.
I know, right?
I mean, this is something really special. We've been talking a lot about Felipe Pantone's work in the build-up, the lead-up to tonight, and the other Kid Funk Presents events that are happening. But this is special. This guy's from Spain. He's really on the rise, and what we have tonight for our big party is his artwork, which is going to be activated to the audio that we supply as DJs. And very unique. This doesn't happen often. This is very special for us. For my guests this evening, you're both playing 2 sets. So we've got Julian solo, then we got Julian Gomes and atJazz back to back, which I'm hoping we'll be hearing the record on.
Absolutely.
With Felipe Pantone's visuals, and then atJazz at the end. How important is it for you guys to have art, to have visuals, to have these? I mean, I get it. What's your perspective on this?
I know you get it.
whole
I've been
thing?
to your house. I've seen the pictures you've got on the wall.
Yeah.
As Johnny and I were having a conversation about it.
Exactly the same arts.
Yeah.
Insane.
It's hand in hand. I can't say anything else. You know, if your ears are turned on to art and you're hearing and it gives you goosebumps, your eyes must be turned on to art to give you goosebumps, and vice versa. If you're from a graphical background, it must be visuals first, music second. I know a lot of visual artists that can't work without music.
This is the thing. Felipe Pantone's artwork is very influenced by music, and
you can see even. I mean, not saying that this piece is what it is, but it looks like a waveform.
exactly.
So
I can't wait for this thing to light up for
I know.
sets. And
It's been just sitting there, being a bit doddering, and just waiting for us to do something with it for ages.
you know, the most incredible thing is that I wasn't tuned into Felipe Pantone. I'm from your generation. We are Mo Wax.
Yes.
We are Ninja Tune. We are. With that comes Futura 2000.
Yeah, exactly.
Felipe Pantone has just collaborated with Futura
Oh
2000.
my God, really?
And yes, and when I saw that collaboration, I was like, right, now I'm switched
Stop
on,
to save
man.
up.
Yeah. I'm taking the screen home with me tonight.
Yep.
But guys, I'm so looking forward to tonight. We're going to be recording everyone's sets, all the artwork supplied by Felipe Pantone Stay True Music Series. Thank you, Ballantines.
Thank you, Ballantines. And
Thank you.
Can I just quickly tell you my story about Ballantines?
Yeah, we need to hear atJazz's...
My first introduction to Ballantines, because it's a thing, and when I saw it, I thought, oh, Alan's lucky because he gets to drink Ballantines. So I used to have a house in France a long time ago, maybe 17 years ago, something like that. And I used to drink either Jameson's, and I'm going to mention the name, and I'm going or some other single malt whiskies from Scotland. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really into whiskey. I kind of drink it because other people drink it. You know, it's not my drink. And I like to drink. You know, I like late night, nice little nightcap or something. And I went round to my French neighbour's house, and he had this bottle of Ballantines. It was quite a short bottle, actually. It was quite a cute bottle. I remember it at the time. He says, "Have you had Ballantines before?" I said, "No." He says, "Oh, it's like this blend. It's really nice. I prefer it. That's what he was saying to me. I was like, all right, let's have a go. I don't really like whiskey. I kind of drink it because everyone else drinks it, and I keep getting given drinks and stuff. And I had it, and I was like, ooh, that's easy for me. That's easy. Too easy for me. And that's my little story.
And now they've made big bottles for you.
Yeah, well, that's not a good thing. So I drank Ballantines for about 2 years, not regularly.
Yeah.
Yes, regularly. And then I had to stop drinking it because I was drinking too much of it. I love it. And it's
it's
nice.
amazing.
And that's
Again,
the first time in about maybe 6 or 7 years since I've had a Ballantines. Because I still had it.
everything
all
goes
now.
full circle. Here we are back in
And it's
Pretoria.
great. It's a great drink. I love it. Anyway, that's my Ballantines story.
I love it.
And it's a true story.
Stay true.
Thank you, Alan, Kid Funk, always.
Guys, I'm looking forward to your sets. And this is Kid Funk Presents here in Pretoria at, the heart of Pretoria. Where are we? African Beer Emporium. Artwork by Felipe Pantone, DJ sets by FKA Mash, myself, and the gentleman. Shop. That was nice.
Thanks for listening to Kid Funk Presents the Ballantines True Music Series. Make sure you tune in for the next session with me and other industry artists who stay true. For more on the True Music Series, check out the Ballantines site or follow Ballantines SA on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For more on the Kid Funk Presents the Ballantines True Music Series, check out Kid Funk on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and any other social media platform.
So let me tell you the power of this music.
It's what I live for.
It's a connection.
It's positive energy.
Ready for the ride?
I'll see you in the queue. This sound is worth fighting for. We hear you, people.
We're standing up for true music.
Not for persons under the age of 18. Enjoy responsibly.
She told me that she never wanted to stay. When we show love, I need your love. She told me that she never wanted to stay. When we show love, I need your love. break us. I know nothing's gonna break us down. I know nothing's gonna break us. Just stay awake and have a little faith, 'cause I know nothing's gonna break us. I know nothing's gonna break us down. I know nothing's gonna break us. Just stay awake and have a little faith. Yeah. There's no need to worry. No. There's no need to fear. No. Your life's a celebration. Yeah. The whole reason why you're here. So no matter what comes and goes, we gotta fight. They can't make us fold. No. No matter what they do or say, they can't divide us. There's nothing like us. No. I know nothing's gonna break us. I know nothing's gonna break us now. I know nothing's gonna break us. Just stay awake and have a little faith, 'cause I can feel it all around me. Yeah. I can feel it in my bones. What a sweet sensation when I call my very own. So no matter what comes and goes, we gotta fight. They can't make us fold. No matter what they do or say, they can't divide us. There's nothing like us. I know nothing's gonna break us. I know nothing's gonna break us now. I know nothing's gonna break us. Just stay awake and have a little faith, 'cause I know nothing's gonna break us. I know nothing's gonna break us now. I know nothing's gonna break us. Just stay awake and have a little faith. Stay out of my life. I'm over you. Stay out of my life. I'm over you. Stay out of my life. I'm over you. Do it. Stay out of my life. I'm over you. I'm better off without you.